first African-American actor to sign a long-term contract with one of the Hollywood studios. At the time of signing her contract, Lena was the highest-paid black performer in the United States. Her status as a successful performer gave her a bit of bargaining power, so it was stipulated in her contract that she would not play any of the stereotypical African-American roles. Unfortunately, her roles were often shot in a way that they could be easily cut from the films, and she actively spoke out against the studio's censorship for racist Southern audiences. She was also an activist and refused to sing for segregated audiences during World War II. This led to several venues actually changing their rules and integrating. She took part in the famous March on Washington in 1963 and was a friend of Rosa Parks, helping to promote her story by using her star power.
Lena Horne was born in 1917 in Brooklyn, New York. At 16 years old, she joined the chorus line of the Cotton Club in New York City. She made her Hollywood nightclub debut in 1942 and was signed by MGM a few weeks later. She appeared in several musicals, but was not featured in a leading role because she was black. After leaving Hollywood, she became one of the premier nightclub performers of the time. She also joined the USO and entertained troops, but refused to perform for segregated audiences or groups where German prisoners were seated in front of black servicemen. She was the first African American to serve on the Screen Actors Guild Board of Directors, and the first black woman to be nominated for a Tony Award. She's also the first black woman to have a Broadway theater named after her.
Today we are honoring, celebrating, and remembering Lena Horne. Lena dropped out of school at 16 and became a popular nightclub performer. In 1942, she catapulted to fame, becoming the first African-American to sign a long-term contract with a major studio, MGM. Her contract stipulated that she not be cast as a domestic worker. She starred in films like Cabin in the Sky and famously Stormy Weather. By the mid-1940s, she was the highest-paid African-American actor in the U.S. Sadly, in many of her films, she's featured merely as a performer whose scenes were cut for Southern audiences. Horne was also a major civil rights activist. That, along with her friendship with Paul Robeson, labeled her a communist sympathizer. Blacklisted, she continued to sing and became a major recording star. Her 1957's Lena Horne at the Waldorf Astoria is considered one of the best. She was a staple on variety shows, nominated for a Tony Award, and appeared in films like Death of a Gunfighter and as Glinda in The Wiz. In 1981, she made a triumphant return to Broadway with Lena Horne, The Lady and Her Music. The show was a major success, earning Lena a special Tony Award and 2 Grammys. Horne remains an icon and legend to many. Lena Horne passed away in 2010 at the age of 92.
Welcome back to Black Women in History, where I talk about a different black woman every day for February and March. Let's talk about Lena Horne. She was born June 30th, 1917 in Brooklyn, New York. Lena's parents separated when she was only 3 years old. Lena's mom was a traveling actress, so a lot of times she would either live with her grandma or traveled around the country with her mom, staying with several family members around the country. When she was 16, she dropped out of school and started performing at the Cotton Club in Harlem. And in 1934, she made her Broadway debut in the production Dance with Your Gods. She joined Noble Sissle and his orchestra under the name Helena Horne. And she appeared in the Broadway revue, Lou Leslie's Blackbirds of 1939. She joined the Charlie Barnett Orchestra, which was one of the first integrated swing bands. She didn't like the fact that she couldn't patron most of the venues they were working at, and so she eventually left the tour. In 1941, she worked at the Cafe Society nightclub. In 1943, she had a long run at the Savoy Plaza Hotel and nightclub. She was featured in Life magazine and became the highest paid black entertainer of the time. She then signed a 7-year-long contract with MGM Studios and moved to Hollywood. The NAACP and her father both made sure that it was stipulated in her contract that she wouldn't be relegated to domestic worker roles, which was the industry standard at the time. Horne was featured in several films, including Swing Cheer in 1943 and Broadway Rhythm in 1944. In these films, she had several solo singing scenes that had to be cut out to be played in the southern United States. That's a tongue twister. After the movies Cabin in the Sky and Stormy Weather, the song Weather became her signature song. By the end of the 1940s, she had sued several establishments for discrimination and became a outspoken member of the Progressive Citizens of America, which led her to be blacklisted. She performed in nightclubs until the mid-50s. In 1955, she released her album, It's Love. In 1956, she was in the comedy Meet Me in Las Vegas. And in 1977, she released Stormy Weather. Her live album, Lena Horne at the Waldorf Astoria, became the biggest selling album by a woman at RCA Records. She performed at several civil rights rallies on behalf of the NAACP and the National Council of Negro Women. She participated in the 1963 March on Washington, and she dropped 2 albums during her civil rights era, Feeling Good in 1965 and Lena in Hollywood in 1966. Look, I know this is a 3-minute video, but I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna need a part 2. Between the years 1970 and 1971, she lost her brother, son, and her father. She fell into a deep state of mourning, and she became less visible from this point out. Still, in 1973 and 1974, she toured with Tony Bennett. In 1978, she made her final film appearance as Glinda the Good Witch in The Wiz, which was directed by her son-in-law, Sidney Lumet. In 1981, she returned to Broadway in her one-woman show, Lena Horne, the Lady and Her Music, which ran for 14 months. Her one-woman show won a Drama Desk Award, a Special Tony, and 2 Grammys. In 2009, her biography by James Gavin, Stormy Weather, was published. And on May 9th, 2010, Lena Mary Calhoun Horne died of heart failure.